What is going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with the one, the only, Dilly Vanilli. We are here to recap the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens, a huge AFC North showdown. As we came in on our preview last night, we both did end up picking the Baltimore Ravens, but as I said, I would not be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals won this game. And now I feel bad that I picked the Baltimore Ravens in this game. As soon as I saw the start of the game, I'm like, why didn't I pick the Bengals? Like, they always win this game, but I thought the Ravens maybe a little bit different this year. I thought Joe Flacco was in a groove. I wasn't quite sold on the Bengals' performance last week, but the Bengals sold me this week. They had a very good game this week, offensively, defensively. I think there are more concerns after this game about the Baltimore Ravens. I wouldn't say it's earth-shattering or world-ending for Ravens fans, but there are concerns after this game. Dylan, what did you think of this Thursday night game from an entertainment standpoint from both teams going at it?
Well, first off, not being on Thursday Night Football very often, I didn't expect this to be the game that I was going to be on for, but life is life here. So I had to watch elite Joe Flacco play Andy Dalton and the Bengals, two teams I wasn't very high on coming on into the preseason. This was a weird set of events. The Bengals came out there hot. A.J. Green had his own Randy Moss game, 3 catches for 3 touchdowns. And I was like, man, this is going to be garbage because I know the situation. I've seen it before. Then the Ravens came back, did their little bit of things, and then we saw a classic Flacco at the end, basically securing the win for the Bengals. A little bit of mix of both things. It's good to see the Bengals actually did good. We saw it last week, but I wasn't convinced. This week, I'm a little bit more convinced about what they've got going forward. Their defense stepped up, made some big plays, and their offense, at least in the first half, was excellent. Second half was kind of stagnant, but they didn't really have to be amazing or earth-shattering. So interested to see how both teams go forward and recover or, bouncing back or whatever. But a good game here on Thursday night.
Yeah, I thought it was a fairly good game. It didn't seem like it was going to be that in the first half, but we ended up getting a pretty relatively exciting finish to the game. So that was good. So 34-23 for the Bengals, final score. Going over some of the statistics, both quarterbacks do end up throwing for quite a bit of yardage and throwing a lot. Flacco, 55 attempts in this game for 376 yards on 32 completions, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, was sacked 4 times, 76 passer rating, while Andy Dalton, a more efficient game all around, especially from that first half, 24 for 42, 265, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, was not sacked at all in this game, 107.7 passer rating. Now, there's a big thing that I just brought up there, and Dylan actually gave me a reaction. Andy Dalton did not get sacked. I think that's one of the biggest differences from this year's team to last year's team in the Bengals, and that's something that we previewed, we talked about this Bengals team, is that their offensive line is improved. It's a lot better. It's going to be a lot better. It's especially in pass blocking. I mean, today they actually lost their starting center, which was their first-round pick, Price. He was injured. I don't think he ever came back into the game. And they were still able to somewhat get over that. It did sort of slow down the running game a little bit, slow down the offense a little bit. And you did see them sort of get they weren't as good as they were in the first half without him. But still, to keep the Ravens, typically a pretty good team at getting after the quarterback, to 0 sacks. They still had some pressures in there, but 0 sacks is a solid game for the Bengals offensive line. And I thought in the first half, they really had a great game. They set up protection well for Dalton. Dalton sat back there, looked for his guy, was able to eat up the zone coverage of the Ravens. And then we go to the targets. Basically, he was throwing to Tyler Boyd. I thought had an excellent game. 6 catches, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. Really his best game I've ever seen him play for a full 60 minutes. He made a lot of key third down catches, a lot of nice catches. Was beating his guy with consistency, and it was matched up with Tavon Young for a lot of the game, mostly the slot corner for Baltimore. He was playing more of a number 2 role today because they didn't have Jimmy Smith out there. AJ Green, of course, was a freaking beast. 5 catches, 69 yards, and 3 touchdowns, along of 32. And yesterday, I went on a rant about my top receivers in the league, and Dylan was trying to talk it out with me. And I said AJ Green is better than DeAndre Hopkins, and I stand by it. This performance proves it to me. I know that some people may feel differently, and we had some discussion there on Twitter. But to me, this is the difference with AJ Green. You put him in that category with Brown and Beckham and Julio, and now we've thrown Tyreek Hill in there, of guys that can make game-changing big plays. And that's exactly what happened on that 3rd down. The Ravens sent the house, but AJ Green just a little slant to the inside, broke a tackle, and went to the house and made a play. So, yeah, AJ Green had his he's always good against the Ravens, and he did it again. And it's amazing that the Ravens continue to lose games because they can't cover AJ Green. Joe Mixon, 21 rushes, 84 yards. I thought he was very solid in this game. I was surprised he didn't get more opportunities to catch the football. He did last week. I would have liked to seen that a little bit more, maybe a couple more screens, just have him out as a receiver a little more. They were using Giovanni Bernard in that regard, but I thought Mixon had a couple really nice runs, especially later in the game when they needed to ice the game. And other than that, Tyler Eifert showed up twice and 2 catches for 23 yards. Other than that, not a lot of guys were involved. John Ross wasn't very involved. They were trying to get him the ball. He did have 4 targets in the game, but he only came up with 1 catch for 8 yards. And Giovanni Bernard had a decent game on the ground, 6 carries, 27 yards as well. For Baltimore, Alex Collins, 9 carries, 35 yards. Not his greatest game. Again, for whatever reason, Baltimore choosing not to run a lot. And this is a different game than last game. This game, they were losing by a lot early, so they had to not stop running and pass it. But last game, they were winning by a lot, and they chose to not run it. So I don't understand what their strategy is. But it seemed like every time Alex Collins was getting the ball, Dylan, that he was making plays. He had 3 catches, 55 yards in this game. I just felt like he was always making a guy miss or breaking a tackle. What did you think of the usage of Alex Collins in this game?
I'm not a big fan of it personally. He is a versatile running back that can make key plays. We saw a couple of those explosive plays. The 1 catch, I believe, was for like 24 yards. He escaped a hit pretty early on in the catch and was able to extend it for another 20 yards or so. He's a good running back and obviously has showed over the last season or so what he's capable of. But the Ravens, I don't know if they really love him. Now, he's been around for so long for them, but 55 passes, like that's egregious. I know they were down for a lot of
They were down. They were forced to throw the ball, but it just seemed like they could have got Alex Collins a little bit more involved. It just seemed like every time Flacco was having to dump the ball off to him, he was making a play. Like he was breaking a tackle, he was making a guy miss, and he was going for some more yardage. It just their usage of Buck Allen. Like I understand he's like their pass catcher, but he's not nearly as talented as Alex Collins, especially in space and making guys.
Give Buck Allen the credit, bro. Give him that credit.
He scored a touchdown. They love him in the red zone. 6 carries, 8 yards. He got a touchdown. He did catch 5 catches for 36 yards on 7 targets. But he's just every time it's clear when you watch Alex Collins, he's a much better running back than when you watch Buck Allen. It's just clear to me. I don't get it. One guy that I thought was awesome in this game for the Ravens was John Brown. 4 catches, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. It was on 10 targets. Like he had a lot of opportunity in this game, but he made some amazing catches, Dylan.
Yeah, the touchdown catch in particular was A1.
Michael Crabtree, 5 catches, 56 yards.
Kev's boy.
10 targets. He was okay. I felt like they could have gone to him a little bit more, especially in the red zone, but I mean, I thought the Bengals defense did a good job on him. Mm-hmm. And Willie Snead, 5 catches on 8 targets for 54 yards. Kind of a quiet day. Didn't really stand out much. They got their tight ends, Max Williams involved, Mark Andrews involved in the first half, more so than the second half. Yeah, so those are the offensive guys. Any guys stand out there that you didn't really get to talk about, Dylan?
The thing I see here a lot is that Joe Flacco was spreading the ball around a lot, and I guess that's their goal. They don't have particular number one guy. So they're going to sign, all the guys they signed, John Brown, Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead. They're going to give them all the ball to make those plays. So the most receptions caught by anybody was 5. It was a couple guys. But it's interesting to see the offense that the Baltimore is trying to capitalize here. Nothing really stands out for me, but just the spreading of the ball is interesting.
Yeah, I feel like Lamar Jackson, he was in on 2 plays. And my thing with Lamar Jackson, he had 2 carries for 6 yards. The thing with Lamar Jackson is I feel like on 3rd down and 1 and 4th down, if you're going to go for it on 4th and 2 and some plays like that, there's areas and situations and times when you can really use Lamar Jackson in those short yardage situations. Like when there was a couple times when the Ravens decided to go with like a boot to the right or like a boot to the left and try and throw it to the fullback. Like, why don't you have Lamar Jackson out there? Because then he can boot to the right and he can rather throw it to the he can make a 3-yard throw. He can rather throw it to the fullback or the running back or whatever, or he can just run it. He's faster than Joe Flacco. Like in those situations, if you're going to use him throughout the game and he's just going to run it, why don't you try a couple passes with him outside the pocket on short yardage? It's so hard to stop Lamar Jackson for 2 yards.
I think the thing is they don't know what they want to do with him on offense. I think they're like, here's Lamar Jackson. We know what kind of draft pick we got, but we have no idea how to fit him in this offense right now. So they're just like, okay, we're going to put him this play, see what he does. Oh, shit, we're going to hand it off to the running back. Like, what? Who in the right mind is putting him out there to hand off the ball to somebody?
At least, like, because it seems like, to me, Lamar Jackson is basically one of those running backs that if you see him on the field, you know that team's going to run. Mm-hmm. Like, every time Lamar Jackson's on the field, they're going to run the ball. Why don't you give him a chance to throw the ball? Or like do a PA boot or like a dump off to somebody just to get it in the mind of the defense that, hey, this guy's not just going to do read option or hand it off.
Honestly, I don't think this team is as good as we think it is. I don't think they're smart enough to make this decision. Like, honestly, they've been used to the Joe Flacco system for a decade, and it's completely different from Lamar Jackson. I think they're set in their ways, and they don't know how to fix that just yet. That's just my opinion.
Okay, let's go to the defense. Guys that stood out to me on Cincinnati's defense. I thought that the rookie Sam Hubbard had a nice game. He had a sack, 2 tackles for loss, quarterback hit, 5 tackles. Geno Atkins, of course, with 2 sacks. I believe he's now the Bengals' all-time leading sack leader. I could be wrong, but I believe he is.
I'll search that up.
Other guys, Drake Kirkpatrick had a solid game at corner. And William Jackson had a solid game. They didn't test him much. He's pretty good. And who else? Jordan Evans made a couple plays at linebacker. It's interesting with the Bengals because they don't have their best linebacker on the field right now because he's suspended. But they're finding ways and different guys to play in different roles for them, and it's sort of working out. A guy that was sort of quiet was Carlos Dunlap, although he did get his hand on 3 pass deflections. Baltimore's defense, Tony Jefferson had 9 tackles, led the team. Kenny Young was a soft spot. He was not very good in coverage in this game. I was a fan of him. Kenny Young and Tavon Young were both bad in coverage, both the Youngs. I felt like both Tavon Young at corner, he had a rough game. He played mostly against Tyler Boyd and really wasn't having it. And I think on one of the touchdowns on AJ Green, he was covering, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I was high on him 2 years ago, but then he got hurt last year, and this is kind of his comeback year. Maybe it's going to take him a little bit of time to get back, but he didn't have his best game. Marlon Humphrey had a pretty good game overall. Eric Weddle had a pretty good game. But overall, they didn't get a lot of pressure in this game. Terrell Suggs was pretty much invisible. Matt Judon was pretty much invisible in this game. So they didn't get a lot of pressure, and I think that was their biggest downfall on defense. Their coverage was having to cover too long, and Andy Dalton was able to sort of pick it apart. But in the second half, they did have moments where they looked really good. So maybe it was them starting slow. Maybe it was the Thursday night road thing. Not really sure, but Baltimore's defense didn't play that great, and Cincinnati's defense was just a little bit more on it. Their coverage was a little bit better. Their pass rush was a little bit more better. So overall, what did you think of the defenses, and any guys stand out to you, Dylan? Dylan is frozen. Oh, you're back.
Yeah. I got taken out for a second. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead. What do you think of the defenses?
Okay, first off, Geno Atkins is now third all time on the sacks list. So that is the answer there. I literally could not find it. I just searched on Twitter.
Who is first?
I don't know, because I was like searching it on the internet. I couldn't find anything. And then I just searched Geno Atkins' name on Twitter to see if anybody, and they just said third. So
okay.
I'll try to figure it out later on. Defensively, the Bengals made some really good plays that I really like. Carlos Dunlap was my favorite guy on defense tonight. He made some really standout plays, got some good hits, and just overall played really well.
Carlos Dunlap.
God damn it. I can't even.
Is Dylan gone too? What the heck happened? Okay, I guess I'll go to comment. Oh, I keep getting kicked out. This is crazy.
Wait, you keep getting kicked out?
I got kicked out. Like, I don't know if you got kicked out at the same time as me, but I just got kicked out.
We were both off for at least a second.
Yeah, that was weird. Anyways, I'm gonna go to the chat. Sebastian Ortiz says, hi. Michael Grant says, I didn't think I would have to, I don't think I would have to say this, but the Bengals look pretty good. RVD says, this is the only primetime game for the Bengals this year, as the league is probably punishing their horrible primetime performances. That could be true. They actually won a primetime game today. It does help that it was at home.
I'm surprised I don't even have a Monday night game. They usually get one against Pittsburgh, but
true. Brandon Williams says the Ravens offense needs to do some serious work after this game along with the defense because we couldn't get to him once. I think the thing with the Ravens, I'm not sold to say, hey, the Ravens suck and they lost the bank. I think both of these teams are pretty good. And I think they're both talented. And I just think when it's Thursday Night Football and you're on the road, you saw the Ravens started super slow.
Hey, can we get rid of Thursday Night Football, please?
Thursday Night Football is not the greatest. And a lot, especially with road teams usually come out slow, and they usually home teams win. It's tough.
You can do it week 1 to open up the season and Thanksgiving. Everybody else, you fuck off with Thursday nights. I hate Thursday nights. Just terrible idea.
How many wins for the Bengals now? Michael says 6-10. I think I had them at, I don't remember. It was 7 and 9 or 8 and 8, but I'm still in that range. But maybe they're better. I don't know. Maybe they're better than that. I still think the Ravens will overall be the better team at the end of the year. I think the Ravens will win the game when it's in Baltimore. But usually these two teams split. They're very close teams. They're very competitive with each other, and that's just the way it goes. Should have saw that coming again, but we didn't. So
I'll bump them up for my record because I think I had them like 3-13. So
yeah, they're not 3-13. They're a pretty decent team, and I don't know who they play next week. I'm actually going to look that up.
I'll put them up at least 6-10 right now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes further on.
But I think there's some promising things about their team.
They play the Panthers. The Panthers next week.
They play the Panthers in Carolina, and then they play Atlanta in Atlanta. So 2 tough NFC South games that they got to play. So I guess they're probably hoping, if you're a Bengals fan, to at least win one of those. It's going to be tough. You're 1-1 right now. Then you play the Dolphins at home. You play the Steelers at home. You play the Chiefs, Bucks. So it's going to be an interesting season for the Bengals, but they're off to a decent start, starting off 2-0. So that's solid for them.
I think so. Yep, works for them. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. So,
anything you want to add to this game that we haven't talked about?
Going forward, I'm just hoping that Joe Flacco is better.
Yeah. I guess that's something we should talk about. Joe Flacco.
51
Okay, so
50. What was that? Is that the record somewhere around there? Or no, wait, 41-40. Sorry, since winning the Super Bowl. That is his record since with the Ravens since winning the Super Bowl. There was times where I'm like, okay, that's a Joe Flacco throw. Good stuff. Like I like it. He's been in the league for a decade. He's supposed to make those throws. And then you see other ones, and I'm like, what was that? Like it's 3rd and 4. It's on the outside. John Brown.
they throw a go.
And it's not even close.
Yeah, it's like the bail, it's like the bail throw. Like it's like, oh, I don't have anything. And it's not even like his first read. It's just like his first read on the go, and he just throws it. It's like,
oh, all right. But it's not even like one of those, all right, jump balls, we'll go for it. I think my receiver. No, it's 4 or 5 yards out from him never catching it. So those are the throws that I just don't understand. I'm not gonna count the fumble play. That's not really on him. That's one of those just really bad luck kind of throws. But the 2 interceptions.
The interceptions, one was tipped.
Was one tip? One of them he got hit.
Or he got hit, sorry.
Yeah, that was one of them. One of them was I think it was it was early on. It was the first drive. It was a really bad interception.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was supposed to be a comeback route, and the Bengals just really intercepted it. It's just, first of all, 55 times, most of the time you're not going to win throwing 50 more times. I said it last year with 40 times, but you're definitely not going to do it many times with 50. You're obviously playing from behind in those situations, but Flacco is not a QB that I'm like, damn, look for him.
It's like last week he was good. Maybe we thought Flacco turned the corner, but this week it was like Troy Aikman was trying to compare him to Brett Favre and John Elway. What is this notion that Joe Flacco has been a franchise guy? Troy Aikman has said Joe Flacco was a franchise guy. No, he's had one franchise season and was paid. He's not a franchise guy. And then they're trying to understand why Lamar Jackson was drafted. Lamar Jackson was drafted because Joe Flacco has sucked for 4 straight years.
He is the ultimate finesser, though. He still, at least with Brock Osweiler contracts, they get $72 million and then never play. He still gets to play and makes like $100, whatever $1 million it is.
And to be honest, Joe Flacco has looked better this season than he has the last 2 years. Easily. Oh, yeah. And that includes this performance.
It's just, when I see a quarterback that's been in the league for 10 seasons and has been given so much money after making one great playoff run, I should be expecting a little bit more.
And also, they don't understand the fact that it's not Joe Flacco's age, it's his contract.
They're like 2 years old. It's not because he's old.
Yeah, they're like, he's 32. Why is Lamar Jackson here? It's like, because he makes a cajillion dollars.
Hold on. What year is he into this contract? It's got to be like the second to last year in this contract, I think. Let me search this up.
And Rob says this might cost John Harbaugh his job. The only reason it would is because Joe Flacco fails. I think any team, the Cowboys, fire Jason Garrett, pick up John Harbaugh right away.
Let's see here. He's 33, by the way. I'm sorry, we're a year off here. Yeah, he's got one more year on. Wait, hold on, excuse me. There's a potential out in 2020. He's still got 2 more years until that even happens. But right now, he's getting paid $12 million this season with an $8 million signing bonus. Next year, it'll go up to 18.5. The year after, it goes up to 20.25. And the year after is 24.25. So it only gets up to more money. They better opt out after 2019. I'm just putting that out there. It's awful.
The Ravens next week do play the Broncos at home. They should win that game, but it will be a close one, I think.
I think so.
So then week number 4 is where we'll see the true test of the Ravens for the first time this year, I think, because you lose to divisional opponents, it happens, but they play the Steelers on the road in Pittsburgh. That's going to be a big game for them. That's always a big game. I think they'll be 2-1 after 3 weeks, so we'll see what they do in week number 4. But I think we're going to pretty much wrap it up there.
Yeah. By the way, that Ravens game against the Steelers, Sunday Night Football. So that's always a big little test right there. Put some interest, a little intrigue.
And the Steelers don't look the greatest after 1 week, so we'll see what happens. But I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. It was a little bit shorter than usual, but not a ton to talk about in this game in terms of storylines compared to some of the other games we've already done. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more of the Bottom Line View recaps, previews, pick shows, fantasy football. Tomorrow, I'll have my fantasy football video out, so check that out. Start 'em and sit 'em if you want to know who to start in your lineup. And if you're new, subscribe. It's Mitch and Dylan. Bengals take it over the Ravens to be 2-0. Peace.
Peace.